Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of the DATEABLE podcast. We are Yue and Julie, and we want to discuss everything about modern dating and the dating culture. But at the root of dating is human connection, something that we are very passionate about and something that we sort of lost in the last few years. And I think so many people we see in our community are trying to get that connection back.
Absolutely. And I feel like before this episode, I would never have connected self-awareness with human connection. Like, clearly they're in the same vein, but I think this episode really ties the connection of human connection. And I was so excited when you found Dr. Tasha Eurich, her TED Talk, and, she really breaks down the science of self-awareness in a way that I think we hear the word self-awareness. It's almost like this buzzword, like personal development or intentionality or even communication. It's like, this is what you need to do to be successful in relationships. But what do these actually mean? And I love that we're able to break it down, actual definitions of self-awareness. And spoiler alert, none of us are as self-aware as we think we are.
And I like her point of, even if you are self-aware or working towards that, you have to use that information. It doesn't just sit idle. And this is also related to our upcoming course, Finding Your Person. The Finding Your Person program is something that we launched last year. It was very popular, and we are about to relaunch it again. But as part of this program, you'll learn about self-awareness. Yes, learn about yourself more. But we also have a proprietary positive refact method where it helps you put your self-awareness information into action.
Yes, it's all about the action. I feel like it's both, you can't just do and not think ever. I think that's problematic. But also just getting into a state of rumination. We talk about the difference of rumination versus reflection in this episode, and that's really important to how do I reflect on what's happened, but use that information as power to move forward and make action happen.
Yeah, we had so many conversations in the last few years about people putting their personality test results on their dating app bios, or they're putting their schemas on their bios. It's like, it's great to know this, and we are all identifying with these results. But what do you do with these results? And do you want to still be this person? And something we've uncovered recently is that you're constantly evolving, and you're just taking a snapshot of who you are in this moment. But there's also a snapshot of who you could be in the future. And how do we get there? That comes with self-awareness and using the self-awareness information.
She also talks about a quiz that she has that you have to answer, and then you send it to your friend, which I still need to UA yesterday.
I still
UA
need
has
to
not completed it yet. It's been less than 24 hours. I guess you're excused from it. But the whole point is to see, like, does your perceptions match how other people perceive?
That's huge. If you think you're a certain way, but does that really mean other people perceive you in that way? It's like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, did it really fall? I don't know. I don't remember how it goes.
I like
but
that
analogy. It's like if other people don't acknowledge you as being that way, are you actually that way? It's really interesting information. And this is why we feel like when it comes to personal development, you can't just do this work on your own. You can't just be in silo thinking about who you are. You have to interact with other people for this to actually come true and be realistic for you.
Yeah. Has this ever happened to you, UA? Because I definitely have been here before, where you do take that time to do the personal development. In fact, I took an entire year off from dating at all. After a brutal breakup, I did not date for a year. And I did a ton of self-development. And then when I went back into it, things still come up. And a lot of times you think, oh, I thought like I was past this. But I think what I've learned over time is, one, the journey's never over. But then two, of course, if you're doing this in a silo by yourself and reading the books and doing the exercises, but not interacting with people that are going to trigger it in some way, of course everything's going to be good. It's the true test is you can never control the people out there. So how is it that you're going to react once you get this information?
So
like, have
true.
you ever had that happen where it's like kind of like resurfaced for you?
You know, certain things, we had an episode about positive intelligence and we talked about saboteurs, and certain people can trigger your saboteurs to come out. And it's just the way we're conditioned. It's so much of our conditioning that we've had ever since we were little kids. So I've definitely had situations where I felt like in the academic sense, I could see myself and say, okay, you should respond in this way. But in the current practical sense and the emotional sense, I was not able to put it into practice in the moment. Like when I get into fights with my partner, it's never the way I imagined it to go.
Yeah. And sometimes things are, just you need to, like, it's like hindsight is 20/20, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah.
I'm actually gearing up to go to Austin this weekend. So I
Yay.
will be coming back from Austin when this episode officially drops. But I will be there over the weekend. And I was thinking about it. I'm going to my college friend's wedding, seeing a bunch of friends from college that I haven't seen in 3 years, which is nuts. And I was thinking about it. Like, I had a friend that went through something pretty serious with her partner a while back. I mean, they've been married for years. And I remember, like, I was really upset she didn't tell me because, I was like, this was in a stage where, I felt like friends shared everything. And I was kind of like even like personally offended that my friend didn't share this thing that she was going through. And, it's taken like years later and self-awareness. I was like, wow, I was kind of an asshole that I even like expected her to tell me that and made it about me. It's like there's certain things that it's her partner's thing that he was going through that really had nothing to do with her to even share. So there's like that piece. And then second, like she doesn't need to share every last thing with her friends. It's not like she doesn't value me as a friend because she didn't share something personal they were going through. But I feel like I was lacking that self-awareness back then to even realize that it didn't, I wasn't the center of the world and didn't need to know every last thing.
Yeah. And also friendships are just so different when people are in relationships. Like your idea of a friendship of always being there for each other and telling each other everything changes when you get into relationships. And rightfully so. I mean, we've seen it. There are certain friends that were like, you shouldn't have told us that about your partner because now I see your partner in a totally different way and I'm not sure if I can be in the same room as him, honestly.
Yeah, but I'm like thinking about it even like with myself, or like if I was going through something personal that I shared with my partner, that's different than him sharing it with a bunch of his friends. That isn't necessarily what you're signing up for. So I do think that, age does add wisdom, as we did talk about last week too with our podcast with Rob. So I think there's a component of that, but then, self-awareness and us thinking a lot of times that we are more self-aware than we actually are. And I think, remembering these times where maybe we weren't as self-aware, whether that was, in relationships or even, romantic or friendship or family, anything, that's when it comes out because you're interacting with another human being.
The challenging part for me about self-awareness is that it makes sense in theory, but in practice, it's very hard to do. And recently, there was a situation that actually just happened to me, but it brought up some sort of the old UA thinking, and it really bothered me. So here's the scenario. My car wouldn't start. Okay. I think dead battery or something. And my partner didn't know how to start a car with his car or jumpstart a car. We didn't have the tools. We didn't know how to do it. We've never done it before. And I got a little irked because my old ways of thinking about gender roles came into play, thinking, well, you're
like
a dude.
You should know.
You should have the tools and you should know how to jumpstart a car. Why am I calling a service to come to jumpstart my car? You should be able to do it. In my head, this was going through. It was very interesting, Julie, because I was observing my thoughts. I did not let them come out, but I was observing my thoughts and I got more and more annoyed by myself. I'm like, why do I have these gender role expectations coming into play again? And the self-awareness definitely helped in this scenario, but it took a lot of breathing and meditation to get myself out of this rabbit hole of blaming my partner for something that was totally unrelated to him.
I think there's growth there, though. The fact that you even could identify that where this was coming from, and the fact that it was that you're, relying on some gender stereotype that doesn't really have any value and weight whatsoever. Yeah. And this is where this annoyance is coming from. I would say probably old Yue would not have even been able to do that. And I think that is progress of self-awareness. And you would have just got annoyed and upset by your partner instead of, at least you were like at least you were processing it, that you just didn't like lash out at him.
When the mechanic came, I was like, maybe I should date him. He would know how to jumpstart my car.
That guy gets so many dates because of frustrated women. He's like the most popular dude on the block.
Yeah. He's like, sorry, you gotta get on this wait list.
Yeah. I'm booked up for the next 2 weeks. Sorry.
Every time I have a frustrating situation, I always think about when my dog is sick, I'm like, I should just date a vet. If I'm having personal problems, of like, maybe I should just date a therapist.
But then you'd also be annoyed because that's like what you would talk about the whole time,
The whole time. I've always wondered what it's like to date a therapist.
Oh my God. I feel like you and I should never date a therapist.
No.
Because we would just go there all the time. Like, I think if a therapist probably needs someone that's a little more easygoing and light and just fun, that isn't as deep of thinker. So, yeah, I feel like the overthinkers would be a really bad pair at that one.
You would just never leave the house because you'd just be talking all the time.
You'd just be talking all the time. It would be bad. Talking about feelings. Like, I think it's good to talk about feelings. Don't get me wrong. But there is a line of over talking about feelings for sure.
I had a moment the other day when I was with my therapist. I was like, she is kind of annoying me right now. This is why I could never date a therapist, because she kept asking me questions. And I'm like, if I were in a relationship with her, I'd be like, stop asking me questions.
I was like, that's probably me to my partner. How do you feel right now? How do you feel right now?
Yeah, what are your feelings?
But how do you feel right now?
No, how do you really feel?
Maybe I should take that as a tip of self-awareness that could be annoying. Noted.
Noted. There we go. Don't be a therapist to your partner unless if you are asked to be.
Yes. Cool. Well, we'll save the good stuff for the episode. There's so many nuggets in here, and it feels overwhelming, but I love how Tasha breaks it down, and it's all about just getting that 1% more aware. You don't need to totally blow up your whole life at this point. It's the first step is just that awareness. Okay, so we are going to be relaunching the Finding Your Person program. Yay! Very exciting. A new cohort coming through. We're super pumped to get this going again. And we've been pushing the last couple of weeks to join the wait list, which is really important because, one, you'll be notified when the course opens, you'll be notified when the program opens before everyone else. We do have limited spots, so clearly getting it a day early will only help you. And then second, you will be getting a series of videos that give a lot of information about what is in our program. Like, what is this positive refact method that Yue talked about that's the secret sauce? And also there'll be tidbits that you can use today. This is not the actual program, but it's almost like a little teaser into it just to give you more info so you can decide, is this interesting? Is this not interesting? Obviously, we want people that are fully on board to, take that next step. This resonates with the content. So if you're not on the wait list yet, you can join at findingyourperson.com. If you are joining now, don't worry. You'll still be able to watch all the videos, even if you come in a week late. And if you are, joined a long time ago, we're not going to spam people that have joined a while ago with all of this. But if you do want to get these videos again, you can go back and resubscribe to the wait list, and then you'll be eligible to get them again. And yeah, we look forward to giving you out this information. We feel really strongly about this program, and we're excited that we have the bandwidth to launch it again.
Yeah, to get on the wait list, it's completely free. So you get all the information for free. And once you are enrolled in the program is completely self-paced. So we get this question a lot. How long is the program? Do I need to join these calls? No, it's completely self-paced. You'll just have access to all the materials. And we do a check-in in the middle of it all to see how everyone's doing. And you get to meet other people who are enrolled in the program at the same time as you.
Yep. And then at the very end of the program, too, you can schedule a one-on-one with Yue and I as well. So you will be able to chat with us. That's part of why we limit the people in the first place. But the majority of it is self-paced, like Yue said.
Yay. So findingyourperson.com. Get on it.
Nice. Other announcements, if you're not in our Facebook group yet, Loving the Time of Corona, that's the place to be. Our premium group, The Sounding Board, go to dateablepodcast.com/sounding board. Do need to register to come into that group because there's a monthly subscription for that one. So do that, and then we'll let you into the group. But feel free to follow us at Dateable Podcast and in Love in the Time of Corona. Those are kind of our public forums. Okay, one other thing that happened this week that is so exciting is that we were on New York Public Radio again.
Yay!
So welcome anyone that is joining us for the first time. Yue and I got the pleasure of talking about breakups and uncuffing season.
Yeah, it's a show called All of It. We were on it before with Allison, and it was such a fantastic discussion because we were on it for half an hour? It
30
seemed
minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really long time. We took some listener questions, and some of them were really fantastic. Just this one woman's like, you don't need to break up with your partner. You just move away from them for a little bit, and then you move back with them. Just breakups, I think it's a topic that everyone can relate to, and we are coming upon that season where the weather's getting warmer, so breakups are getting hotter. And
Yes.
it's hard to go through a breakup, and I'm just very honored that we were a part of that discussion to help people, deal with breakups.
Yeah, and I did not say bullshit this time. We did not get beeped from the air, so it was a very big accomplishment. Learned my lesson the hard way. For anyone that remembers, last time we were on this show, it cut out real fast when I used the word bullshit by accident. Realized in retrospect, probably shouldn't be saying that on New York Public Radio.
But we were still invited back, so it wasn't that bad.
We were, because, we are so self-aware. And they needed us to be there to shed light. But
it's hard not to cuss. Okay, it's really hard not to cuss. So.
Hey, that is an exercise in self-awareness. Now I'm aware that I should not be saying stuff like that outside of this podcast. It's hard because on this podcast anything goes, and I need to remember that there are times and places for certain language.
Also, it's not something that's widely known, that kind of language is not okay on public radio. Like on TV shows, they can say shit now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm always kind of confused about what the rules are. Not your fault,
well,
Julie.
You live, you learn. You live, you learn.